The future has arrived. As the world and humanity itself moves faster and faster into unimaginable possibilities, old institutions that built connection and shaped our sense of meaning are falling by the wayside. In their wake, profound questions about ethics, our purpose, and spirituality demand new answers. Join your host, Scott Mason, in Season 2 of the Purpose Highway podcast. We will explore how these social changes will revolutionize our society. We will learn how they impact our own search for connection and meaning. And we will hear stories of influencers whose lives have had radical change from the inside and found profound connection to others and themselves through a new definition of meaning. The future has arrived. Are you ready?
When you're racing down the Purpose Highway, we want to make sure you're healthy and happy every step of the way. That's why we're proud to partner with It's NOLA, 21st century plant-based healthy granola snack bites made with real ingredients and audacious flavor. It's NOLA crafts small batch hand-rolled granola balls that are vegan, gluten-free, and naturally low in sugar. Locally made in Brooklyn, It's NOLA's delightful bites come in 3 flavors: luscious cranberry coconut, sassy mango masala, and dark, decadent, chewy chocolate. It's NOLA is available to both individual customers and for wholesale accounts at itsnola.com. That's itsnola.com. Guests on this show are already enjoying this delicious snack. Check out It's NOLA's website for yourself and find out how good it is. Hello, everybody. It's Scott Mason, revving up for another race down the Purpose Highway. And sitting with me in the front seat today is Casey Berman. Casey is the founder of Leave Law Behind. It's a masterclass-like coaching program for miserable lawyers, of which I happen to have been one for a long time. But Casey is also moving into a broader coaching sphere where he's helping high performers in every type of business, from entrepreneurialism to C-suite executives, be their best self and live the sort of life that all of those miserable lawyers are hoping to escape to. Casey, welcome to the show. It is so good to have you. How you doing this morning?
Scott, I'm doing great. I'm honored to be here. This is fantastic. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a long time, so thanks for having me.
Well, we are going to have a blast. Casey, the only reason you are positioned to talk about leaving the law behind is because you did it yourself. Let's keep it real, right? And I did it too. Yeah. When you were a lawyer, were you aware of how unhappy you were fully?
It's a great question, right? And, I always joke. So short answer, no. And it took me a little while to kind of peek my head out. I think of the Truman Show, that Jim Carrey movie, peek my head out and see that there was something else there, right? Not to give away the ending, but for me, I always joke I was a Jewish kid who didn't like blood, so I didn't go to medical school. I went to law school, and that's about as critically as I thought about it. Think about this life decision. I spent more time researching my first purchase of an iPod a million years ago than I did whether I go to law school. You just did it. I made my mom happy and my parents happy and so on. But it caught up with me, and I had a great job. I was in-house counsel doing software licensing. I had the job so many attorneys wanted, but there was just something kind of nagging inside of me. And I think most people, attorneys, but also many people who are in life, you get to that point where you either suppress it and just say, you know what, I'm going to keep the stature of the job, I'm going to keep the money, I'm going to keep everyone happy around me, I'm going to be a people pleaser, or you start listening to that little that voice, that feeling. And the latter is harder and takes you on a long journey. But what it does is there's this idea around being aware of it. And you can kind of be aware in like a real micro-focused, like I'm just going to focus on this job. This is what I'm going to do. Or you can kind of be aware broader of what else is out there. And if you think of your micro-focus as this sort of laser spotlight on something, we're really focused on something, that's great. But if you kind of think of awareness as a broader floodlight, it opens up the aperture and you can see more. And I started kind of looking at life with a floodlight, which was extremely uncomfortable. But I saw these other things. I saw what entrepreneurism was. I saw other ways of being happy. And it threw my spotlight a wrench. And my spotlight did not like that. It said, no, just focus on the path, focus on the beaten path. But once I saw more, I couldn't stop.
What triggered you to begin to move away from the micro focus of your day-to-day job into a vision of a world beyond?
Yeah. So this is going to sound pretty mundane, but that's how it is, right? That's how life is. And so my wife, a girlfriend at the time, was a teacher, and she got on this special thing, a trip funded for teachers, and she was able to go to Australia. And she went for 2 weeks on a science project that they enabled teachers to do. And so I flew out there to meet her, and I'm in the Sydney airport, and I saw the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And if anyone doesn't know about it, it's a very light read, airport read, but it's really about entrepreneurism. And he started talking about how having a job really isn't security. This is 2003. Having a job isn't really secure. You can make more money in entrepreneurism. And I'm reading it, and I had known about it. I knew what an entrepreneur was. I knew what a business founder was, but I hadn't really heard it expressed in this way. So that planted a seed. Around that time when we got back, there's a movie, What the Bleep? And Mary Matlin was in it, and it's all about quantum physics. And it's kind of like pop culture talks about quantum physics, about something else out there, about the world is not really what we think, but more so what we feel, right? And I studied philosophy in college, and Nietzsche, and you think of Descartes in the 1600s, cogito ergo sum, I think therefore I am. And what this is saying is, no, I feel therefore I am. And this is why animals can anticipate an earthquake before it hits, right? I'm here in California. We have earthquakes. I've been through them. And I know that my dog, my cats would go a little crazy beforehand. They can feel it. And so that was huge for me. And then finally, and I'm telling you these mundane things because these are the things that we want to keep an eye out for as that voice. These are signs. The last one was, here I am, in-house counsel, great tech company in San Francisco, dogs in the office, everything out of a movie, the .com that everyone wanted. And I'll never forget, we had this company get together, and they put we all met, and they put a sticker, it was a company retreat. There's 100 people or so. And it said admin. Casey Berman, admin. I was in-house counsel, and I was in the admin department. And I remember saying, admin? I'm no knock on anyone in administration, but that's not me. And so I said, my identity is admin? And so it was something I wanted more, something creative. So these little mundane points in life that I easily could have washed away, for some reason really stuck with me and started me exploring and started me taking this focus of in-house counsel, lawyer, nice Jewish kid, 2.2 kids, And I just started opening the aperture. It forced me to open the aperture, and you can't unring a bell. Once I saw that there were just other things out there, or once I saw that there was things that I didn't really like that weren't that beneficial, not to be a diva, but I had to do something about it.
Mm-hmm. There's so much in there that you said that I can personally relate to, and I bet on some level or another, a huge portion of the audience watching or listening can relate to. And I want to make sure that we don't let those things slip away into the ether. So let's step back a bit, and I want to ask you some more detailed questions.
Let's do it.
Let's start with this concept of the world isn't just what you're observing or seeing, but the world of feeling.
Yeah.
At some point or another, as you mentioned earlier, you made a decision that was based on social prestige, social or familial expectations or whatever, to have this particular career and you engaged in it. And clearly you were successful in law school and you were successful in practice, or you wouldn't have ended up in the position that you were in when you made this change in your life. Is all of that fair to say? But I have to ask, was there a point in your life, maybe when you were younger, where feeling was part of your toolbox? And if so, what happened to it? When did it disappear?
Wow, Scott, the questions you ask, I love it. So let's rewind. I'm 47 years old. I grew up in here in San Francisco. I'm a Northern California kid, grew up in the 80s and 90s. I have a great group of buddies from high school. And so let's fast forward back to about 1990. And we all went camping, and we went up in the Trinity Alps, which is about 5 hours north of San Francisco near the Oregon border. And I learned this from my dad, and we all went out camping and hiking 8 miles, 10 miles in, and we just had a blast, and you're fishing and everything. And I'll never forget just kind of climbing up on a rock on my own, beautiful California. I'm sitting there, and I had this moment of feeling that if everything went away in my life, remember, I'm about 18 years old now. I don't know where it came from, but if everything went away in my life, at least I had myself and I'd be okay. Now, that sounds pretty ruthless, right? Like if I lost my family, if I lost my money, I didn't have a job then, but if I lost everything in my life, I would still have myself and I would be okay. This is 1990, 1991 or so. And I'll never forget that moment because it was a glimpse into this broader awareness that then immediately went away, right? And I hiked back and I applied to college and I did all of that. But there were these moments, there's maybe a few other that I can remember throughout my early days and my teens and even into college where this sense of feeling and vibration, because everything's vibration. You know, the word atom is just Greek for the smallest amount. So, because that's all we can slice it, right? It's just, everything's vibration. And so I had these moments, but I didn't listen to them. I didn't have the pain enough to listen to them, or I didn't have the awareness, or I got caught on the spotlight, apply to college, get this, do that. And, you know, now that I look back on it, it's, I'm seeing that the feeling, and for all of us, for you, for people listening right now, that feeling, that parallel path is there right now. That stream is running. It's really just a matter of opening up the aperture, opening up the spotlight so that you can see and hear it.
When you say everything is vibration, you know, particularly when I was at the height of my practice years, and perhaps some of the feeling states or the shutting down of feeling states that you're talking about earlier that I was experiencing in my own life would have justified me ending up really asking this question to you in a firm, hard way. In those eras of my life, I would have heard words like vibrations and immediately shut down. Or I would have said, this is woo-woo. What are vibrations? And if you had seen me face to face, and let me tell you, I could be tough, I would have said, explain these vibrations. What are their properties? How is this anything other than airy-fairy talk? And why should I, as a professional that's licensed, that is operating in the concrete world, give a concept like vibration any credence at all? Answer the old me.
So, no, it's a great question. It is woo-woo. It is touchy-feely. It is all of that. I really caution everyone to ignore the vibration at their own peril. And what I mean by that is we can be cognitive, we can think, we can be intellectual, and that is what we have done. But the reason the sages of the past, Buddha, Jesus, and Jesus particularly in the Gospel of St. Thomas, which is something that people have written about, it's disputed, it's controversial, it didn't make it into the New Testament, and you look at the other sages, whether it's St. Augustine, whether it's Nietzsche, whether it's Mother Teresa. But here's what I want to say to that, Scott, from before, is that if you really want to be a high performer, you can do it in a very non-scalable way. You can work more hours. Go ahead, work 3,000 billable hours at your law firm. which is 35.
Law firm will love you, by the
right?
way.
Which is a pyramid scheme. A law firm is just a pyramid scheme, right? But if you work, and I don't mean that in a scammy way, I just mean they want you to work as many hours as they can because they pay you X and they bill you out at 3X, at 4X, right? And so what I would say is that to Scott, and for me, the ones that are thinking in this way, like, oh, vibration, that's woo-woo. Everyone who is a high performer who does it on scale gets into, and this is something maybe the older Scott would, the previous Scott would understand, is getting into the zone, getting into the flow. If you don't like woo-woo, if you don't like vibration, think about a celebrity, think about a sports star, think about someone in the courtroom, think about yourself when you had those moments where you get into the zone. And the only thing getting into the zone is just not thinking anymore. It's just not thinking. It's doing. It's acting, and it's acting based on where your intuition and your actions are going. And I'll tell you this, that one reason why is because when we think thoughts, and thoughts are just energy. This right now, this transmission is vibration. The internet, the TV, you can't explain it. This is vibration right now. So if someone were to say, Casey, oh, this is so woo-woo, it's vibration, you're listening to a vibration right now and taking it in intellectually. That's the idea. So, and I'll say this, if we rely on intellect, what normally happens is you have two thoughts, and they're usually mutually exclusive and they're at odds with each other. And that is the phrase of getting in your own way. That is the idea of having a foot on the accelerator in your car and a foot on the brake at the same time. That is going one step forward and 0.75 steps back. And so I encourage really everyone to not just rely on the intellect, not just rely on I think, therefore I am. Right. Because if you're doing that, you are missing out on a whole portion of yourself, which is feeling. And feeling and emotions have negative, touchy-feely, guy from Northern California connotations. Okay, so change the connotation to getting into the zone and really being your ideal self.
I think that's actually really good advice because the guy from Northern California example actually might have been something that this New Yorker would have had a hard time accepting and embracing as part of his thinking paradigm. That's right. And I've come a long way in that, but understanding and being careful about the language that we use when we decide how to integrate these things into our thought patterns and into our identity is a matter of huge significance. And on that subject of language, I wanted to go back to something else that you said that really hit a nerve with me, and it's that word admin. Tell me this. One of the most frustrating things about being an attorney for me, and one of the most confounding things, was that on the one hand, the career appeared to have a high level of social prestige associated with it. And you mentioned that yourself earlier. But at the same time, you always were, as a litigator, cleaning up other people's messes, or as in-house, simply providing counsel or guidance. You were always on the service road, I felt, not on the purpose highway itself. Did you feel the same way ever? Am I crazy? And talk to me a little bit about what sort of reaction the word admin might trigger in you vis-a-vis that analogy that I just threw out there.
You're totally right. I mean, the purpose highway, and I love your name, Scott. The purpose highway for me was creative. And the frontage road, the service road that's running aside it was reactive. And that's why I left, is because I was putting out fires. Crazy story. Another one that I left was back in 2003. I would negotiate all licensing agreements, and we would come at the end of the quarter, which was December 31. And here I am negotiating agreements. All the salespeople want their deals closed. They know I need to negotiate, but they were literally tapping their foot and looking at me with stink eye, like, you better negotiate this deal. And right. I would do it. I would work late. I think I missed New Year's Eve. Hey, not the worst thing. Woe is me if I don't party on a New Year's Eve. But what really hit me was we closed this deal. I worked a ton on it. And the salesperson literally made a 6-figure commission. Mm-hmm. And he bought me an iPod. and he engraved it on the back. And I remember, and it was sweet. He didn't have to, but I remember looking at it. I got a $375 iPod, and he made over $100,000. And I remember thinking, so I'm on the service road, he's on the highway, right? And it's not just money, but money really is a reflection of value. It helps amplify me.
Yes.
I love money. So I think when it came to this, remember, when it comes to the word admin, everything, you, me, the cup, my dog, and the word admin are all neutral. I give meaning to it. I have past association with it. So the word administration for me was restrictive. It wasn't enabling me to do the work I want to do. I mean, think that for this, you have admins who are in the back, who are editing, who are doing a beautiful job.
And I have to say, they are amazing.
They're amazing. I've seen your past. They are amazing what they do.
From the universe. True.
And they are your support for you, and that's a role, and it fits for them. It's fantastic. But Scott, you're creating this. You're creating something out of nothing with this podcast. And that's why it's so beautiful what you're doing. And so for me, I looked at admin and I said, I love that for some people. That's their fit. For me, though, there's a creativity. There's something else that I wanted to do that I felt restrictive within that. And so I had to make a change. But there was a battle. I remember there was a battle saying, well, just be lucky with this job and just be lucky with admin. And just, why is this such a big deal? And why do you're being a diva, and why do you even need to be creative? Only diva artists are creative. You're not an artist, Casey. Remember, you didn't do well in our class. You didn't take drama. You're a type A personality who needs to get things. You went to law school, Casey. What the are you doing? And that was a very tough voice, but that aperture, remember, it kept slowly opening to see what else was out there. And it would have taken a lot of pain for me to suppress it and push it down. And so the word admin for me, while it was very difficult, I'm still talking about it to this day. It was one of the motivating factors for me to go on this journey.
What do you think would have happened to you if you had not become aware?
Yeah. So even then at age 28, 30, I knew where I would go if I didn't listen to this voice. And it's a great path, right? I would have stayed in-house counsel. I would have done legal. I would have stayed in Silicon Valley, maybe made a ton of money, probably made a ton of money, stock options, that whole path. I see people, I have colleagues, I have friends who've done that. And it's great. All the power to them. I know, though, that even with all that, maybe that money would have bought me a level of cushion or whatever, but I wouldn't be having this conversation. I wouldn't be talking about vibration. I wouldn't be talking about the Gospel of St. Thomas. I don't know if I would have met you. And I would have just really been in this focus. And, it's been hard. I've given up opportunities for a lot of money. I've had to make money in different ways. I've had my anxieties. I still have them. I have my doubt. But the things that have come up, I think if I had done that, I would have looked great on paper. But I really feel that in 50s and 60s and 70s and on my deathbed, I'm being dramatic here, but I think I would have looked like I would have felt empty back then. And now I'm in the mix of it at age 47 and 44 and 43 and 38 and 55 and everything. And it has not been easy, but it hasn't been boring. It has not been boring.
Yeah. Yeah. Casey, do you believe in destiny?
Do I believe in destiny? So I believe in that I've heard the script is written. And so I believe in this idea that, that movie Sliding Doors from way back when. I know I'm dating myself with all these references. So
I wouldn't know because I'm only 22. So you talk to all those old folks.
That's right. You're helping me out with the younger generation here, guys.
Exactly.
So I think, do I believe in destiny? Yes. And for me, the idea is the script is written. And so that point is like, well, I mean, Casey, Scott, the script's written. What the heck am I doing? Why don't I just, there's no free will. The script is written. I might as well just do what I'm doing. In some ways, that can actually be a demotivator. But how I look at it is that the script is written, but there's numerous different scripts. There's numerous different paradigms. There's numerous different doors to go through. And so the way I determine which door I'm going to go through, and if I literally want to shift my life, is feeling. And so if I want to feel, so let's take an example from, I don't know, an hour ago. So I woke up feeling racked with doubt. I mean, just this morning, and I'm sitting there with my cup of coffee. And so I could either keep that reality, right? That could be my destiny. That could be where I go today and onwards. And for me, though, is I realized that I wasn't just going to stick with this narrow, myopic way of viewing it. I didn't want to live in a world 100% full of doubt. And so I opened my aperture, I closed my mind, I meditated. And meditation for me is literally just pushing the thoughts out. And so what I was able to do is to flip it. I was able to find a new destiny, a destiny of everything's okay. I know exactly what I'm doing. And what it turned was not that I need to have success. I need to see it in my material world before I have confidence. But what I flipped was I have the confidence now, and the success will show. It'll manifest itself. And so that literally shift made today a good day for me. Otherwise, it was going down the tubes just an hour ago. Like I was literally right, and I'm sitting there going, how am I going to do? Like my doubt is going to come across on this podcast. I'm going to be horrible. Scott's not going to like it. Oh my God, right? And I just literally had to feel a different way, which ultimately gave me a different destiny.
How do we know how to recognize our feelings?
Well, how do you feel?
What if I don't know?
Well, you feel
how I feel.
But see, that's the thing, you don't know, because that's intellectual. I don't want you to know how you feel. I want you to feel how you feel. Listen's another word of feeling, right? I mean, feeling like it's just the when you listen with your ear, it's just the vibrations in your eardrum. I mean, it's literally vibrations. That is, and we think that's one of it is our five senses, of course, but
Right.
it's a vibration. I mean, my tongue speaking creates a vibration, which creates an auditory sound. And the only way, does a tree, if no one's there to hear the tree, does the tree, did it make a sound? No, because the only way it can make a sound is if it hits an eardrum, if there's a vibration. So think about that when you come and you're having that morning and it's 5:36, 6:30 in the morning, and you're just feeling that vibration in the pit of your stomach, and it's not beneficial because everything's neutral again. Like I can say it's good. I can say it's bad. If my San Francisco Giants lose, it's bad for me, but if to the Dodgers, but if my buddy in LA who loves the Dodgers, if his Dodgers win and beat my Giants, that's good for him. It's all neutral. So that feeling that you have in your stomach, it's up to you to determine whether it's beneficial and whether you want to feel it. And so when you're kind of like myopically focused with this spotlight on something, you kind of are just in a sea of that bad feeling. So think about a fish. If you were to walk up to a fish and say, hey, how do you like the water? A fish is going to say, what's water? That's all they know. So if I were to come to someone and say, hey, how's your doubt and anxiety? And they may say, what anxiety? That's just how I am. I'm a focused lawyer and I just work 3,000 hours because that's what I'm supposed to do. They don't even know they're anxious.
Yeah. In our pre-interview prep, one of the things that we talked about that you explicitly said spoke to you was the concept that every human being matters. And that's something that really clanged with me. It's something I feel so passionately about. Do you believe that the big professions, law, accounting, maybe even medicine, commodify their practitioners?
So I do feel that, a lot of service professions view their people as a commodity. And I think even the world in general kind of views humans as commodities. We talk about us in numbers and stats and just, I don't know if there's a real appreciation for who we are. And when I say that everybody matters, we can take that kind of in a woke, enlightened way. But I think I really want to view it in a different way. And that is the way, when I say that everybody matters, is to realize what John Lennon was talking talking about, what Bob Marley was talking about when you talk about one love or imagine. We're hearing this in all of our songs, pop culture, classic songs, but that we're all one, we're all together, there's one energy. So for the previous Scott who would say, hey, Casey, this woo-woo vibration stuff, I mean, this is what every Hollywood movie is about. This is what Disney is talking about. This is what all the pop songs are talking about, is that we're all together and we're all one. So what does that really mean? What that really means is that there's this energy between us all. What that really means is that the movie, The Matrix, is not a movie, it's a documentary. Okay, it's a documentary because we are in this matrix. And unfortunately, the matrix that we're in, sort of the ones and zeros that you see, this binary code, there's two ways to look at it, which is one, that you're separate from me, Scott, that everyone is separate. Even your most hated politician on the other side is separate, and that they're separate from me. I'm fearful of them. We're not the same. And so on. Or you can kind of look at this and say, we're all one. And what that means is when you say we're all one in real life, what that means is this person either deserves my love or this person is calling out for love. And let me give you an example from Leave Law Behind. So there's an attorney in the middle of leaving the law. Again, I help unhappy attorneys to leave the law, to kind of widen their aperture, to see what's out there. Yeah. And he just sent me in our members forum this note saying how he had his review at his law firm. He's been interviewing. I mean, he's so close to getting out, and he had this review at this law firm, and he literally got berated by the senior partner. It didn't go that well. He might get fired soon. I mean, just really tough. And he said, Casey, when I looked at him, instead of that anxiety that I've let him down, the pit in the stomach and all of that, he said to me, I mean, these are his words. This is a lawyer, a tax lawyer. He said, I shifted my mindset and I realized that this was his issue. It was his anxiety. Wow. And yeah, maybe he was giving me some critique, which I'll take, but I literally, Casey, shifted my mindset. I had some nervous moments, but instead of it like saying, I am wrong, original sin, there's something wrong with me, I realized this guy was nervous, anxious, wasn't making money, had a hard time at home or whatever it was, and that he literally just deserved my compassion. So when I say that everyone matters, when you kind of look at this is what Gandhi did. This is what MLK did. It's all around us, and it's literally realizing we all come from the same energy. We're different geysers, if you will, but we all come from the same water running underground. And when you realize that at the end of the day, you're talking to yourself.
Wow. Casey, as a final question, if, on the sci-fi theme of The Matrix, it were to come true that you could be cloned and your services could be rendered to everyone, what would the world look like?
Well, if you ask my family, my kids, my friends, they wouldn't want that. So we'll keep that between.
So then we won't bring the Terminator into it, right?
So, in a way, what would so I'll answer your question, then I'll add one more real quick point to it. But if I was cloned, I don't know if I'd want myself cloned, literally because it would be, at this point now, it would be a lot of people with one foot on the accelerator and one foot on the brake, right? And I'm getting in my own way, even with everything I've done and I'm doing. So, but maybe that's what we need to do. I heard a quote from someone very smart who said, your second half of your life is just unlearning what you did in the first half. So maybe that's okay. But I think if I were to be, ideally, what I'd love to see if I were to be cloned, and maybe clone me in a little bit when I get more aware and more developed and a little more, but what I'd love to see is a Gandhi cloned, is an MLK cloned, is, someone who realizes, I really would want to see someone who can love. And that's really touchy-feely, NorCal and so on. But if you think about that there's two emotions in life, there's fear or love. And fear is not just being afraid, but it's anxiety, depression, unhealthy competition, looking at things for stature, feeling lack and all that. And love is collaboration. It's not just romantic love. It's collaboration. It's connectedness. It's being abundant. It's being confident. I mean, being really sincere confidence is a level of love. So if I were to clone myself, or if I were to clone someone, I'd want the world to really come to a point. And this is what Jesus was. This is the kingdom of heaven. This is what he was talking about, which is literally to let it go. I mean, David R. Hawkins, the MD and psychiatrist, talked about this all over. It's phenomenal read, David R. Hawkins for folks. But it's literally about letting it go, jumping kind of into this idea of collaboration and love, and just understand, like I did an hour ago when I was meditating, and understanding that we don't need to control everything. And more importantly, that the person across the aisle from me is me. And so coming to what everyone has told us, and that I'm going to know that everything is okay. I'm going to turn the other cheek because this person needs love. They're crying out for love, even if it looks like they're yelling and screaming and pointing the finger at me, just like that attorney did when he was in that not so good employment review.
So, Casey, since cloning you clearly is not on the table immediately, talk to us a little bit about the one you that does exist in the world. Where can people find you?
Yeah.
And what's coming next for you?
Yeah. Thank you, Scott. So if you are an attorney who's unhappy, who has some of these feelings and you don't want to ignore it, find me at leavelawbehind.com, leavelawbehind.com. We have a ton of free resources, a full coaching course, think masterclass for attorney career transition. We can really help you leave the law and find a non-law alternative career that you love. We help over 100 folks do that. I'm also launching CaseyBerman.com, my first name, last name, CaseyBerman.com. And there's a number of things that we have there. And specifically, I've realized that, and people have told me, the thing that I'm doing for attorneys to help them leave the jobs they don't like, I want to help others. I'm getting a lot of feedback from people saying, do this for non-attorneys. So if you're looking for high performance coaching, or you need some help in leaving your job, or finding a job that really aligns with you, where your skills and strengths are a fit for it, and you have purpose and meaning and confidence and enjoy people being around, that's what I'm helping folks do at CaseyBerman.com.
Thank you. Casey, it has been great riding with you down the Purpose Highway today. And for everyone who is watching or listening, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you leave a review and subscribe. And until next time, have your own great trip down the Purpose Highway. Casey, thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
When you're racing down the Purpose Highway, we want to make sure you're healthy and happy every step of the way. That's why we're proud to partner with It's NOLA, 21st century plant-based healthy granola snack bites made with real ingredients and audacious flavor. It's NOLA crafts small batch hand-rolled granola balls that are vegan, gluten-free, and naturally low in sugar. Locally made in Brooklyn, It's NOLA's delightful bites come in 3 flavors: luscious cranberry coconut, sassy mango masala, and dark, decadent, chewy chocolate. It's NOLA is available to both individual customers and for wholesale accounts at itsnola.com. That's ITSNOLA.com. Guests on this show are already enjoying this delicious snack. Check out It's NOLA's website for yourself and find out how good it is.